Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, Nigeria's ruling APC Party stays in control of Nigeria after Bola Tinubu's named winner of the presidential election. Results followed a record low turnout and will be legally challenged by the opposition. Also, France's president touches down in Gabon at the start of a Central African tour. Our correspondent says that there's been a lukewarm response to Emmanuel Macron's arrival. And he trains hours every day and is agile and ready. We meet one of Senegal's e-sporting stars, Dex Juniors, hoping to wipe the floor with his rivals in competitive video gaming tournaments. But first, Nigeria has a new president-elect. Bola Tinubu from the ruling APC Party has been declared the winner of the weekend's election. The opposition Labour Party is mounting a legal challenge after its candidate Peter Obi came in third. Other parties have joined him in calling for new polls in the belief that these ones were rigged or critically marred by failures in the technology used. Some foreign observers have also raised concerns about the transparency of the vote. Tinubu won 37% amidst a record low turnout of just 29%. He's called for unity amidst mixed reactions from Nigerians.
We voted for him and he's been sworn in. It's now his turn to help us and see the way Nigerians are suffering.
The president should calm down and listen to everybody. He should not be tribalistic. He should take everybody along.
I believe that this new president won't be able to do anything because he cannot do anything. They elected President Muhammadu Buhari and he made several promises, but he didn't do anything in 8 years.
Well, our Samuel Okoye joins me now with more from Lagos. Sam, so 87 million people collected their voter cards before Election Day. Only 29% turnout. Why so low?
Well, traditionally, we've seen this level of low turnout as compared to the number of people who got the voter's card. And several reasons are responsible for this. Sometimes, just as we saw in this election, violence stopped people from voting. Cases of materials or election officials coming late and then makes people unhappy and then they go home. There's also the issue of voter apathy. Sometimes people are registered, but on election day, they don't come out to vote. Sometimes people actually register, not because they want to vote, but because they feel if they don't register, then they might be denied some government services. And you also recall it's a difficult time. There's money scarcity due to a change of the old currency. Petrol is not there. So this could have affected the level of voter turnout.
So Bola Tinubu has been declared the winner. There is going to be a legal challenge against the results. What do you reckon their chances are of changing anything?
Nigeria has a history of people going to courts after elections like this. But I never recall a time when somebody won at the level of presidency and that election is overturned. We've seen it overturned as high as the level of governors, senators, House of Assembly members, but we never have a history of an election being overturned at the level of president. But I mean, you can't rule it happening one day. That's quite a possibility. So it will depend on what the opposition is presenting. The opposition said it has a very credible case. They said mainly that election results were not uploaded as they should be. But the issue will be that are these results valid, even though they didn't go by the rules that they should be uploaded to the server of the electoral body as at when due.
Now, the APC has already been in power in Nigeria for at least 2 terms under current President Muhammadu Buhari. What's likely to change under Tinubu?
Tinubu is coming with a history of having governed Lagos State for 8 years. I mean, he did that effectively. So I think he's coming with that background of somebody who has governed a very, very complex setting like Lagos. When he was governor of Lagos for 8 years, one of his plans was environment. So it was infrastructure. He effectively developed infrastructure. And he mentioned that as one of his plans. I think we shall see a massive development of infrastructure. Nigeria definitely lacks basic infrastructure, electricity, water supply, roads, rail networks. I think that is one of the issues Tinubu will strongly tackle. He also has a history of getting the right people at the right place. I think President Buhari actually failed in doing this. He got people who were not very effective. For the 8 years Tinubu was there, I think all members of his team performed very, very well. And for somebody who was close to the corridor of power for the 8 years that President Buhari was in power, I think he will have seen quite some lapses that have occurred with that government, and we believe he might be able to address some of these lapses.
Thank you so much for that talk through of what's in store for Nigeria under Bola Tinubu. Unfortunately, that is all we have time for that, because we're going to take a look at the man himself. Tinubu faces a divided nation, but has called for those who didn't vote for him to put their disappointment aside and their trust in him.
This is Nigeria's next president, Bola Tinubu. He's from the ruling All Progressives Congress Party, which received about 37% of the votes according to official results.
This is a shining moment in the life of any man and affirmation of our democratic existence.
But opposition parties called the election a sham and demanded a rerun.
The malpractices are on a very, very grand scale.
Tinubu is seen as a political godfather whose support helped current President Buhari win 2 terms in office. After decades spent behind the scenes, the 70-year-old launched his campaign for the presidency with the motto, "It's my turn." He pointed to his time as Lagos State Governor between 1999 and 2007 to sell his candidacy to Nigerians.
They've seen my track record in Lagos.
After stepping down in 2007, he continued to operate from the shadows, overseeing the appointments of several of his protégés to strategic positions.
I am a talent hunter. I put talents in office.
While his supporters portray him as a slick administrator with a knack for picking the right people to get things done, critics see him as a corrupt politician, rewarding his friends with lucrative contracts and hiring thugs to intimidate opponents. Having won the election, Tinubu has a tough job ahead. Nigeria is grappling with an economic crisis, widespread insecurity, and endemic corruption.
French President Emmanuel Macron arrived in Gabon on Wednesday on the first leg of a 4-country tour of Central Africa. He's in Libreville for a summit on the crucial need to preserve the world's tropical rainforests. Our Andy Hillier is there for us and tells us more.
Touchdown in Libreville for the start of a widely anticipated tour. He's sat down with Gabon's president, Ali Bongo, in the presidential palace. Of course, he's here for the One Forest Summit, that summit that's looking at ways to protect the environment, to protect biodiversity. But it would be fair to say that there's been mixed reaction amongst the local people with whom we've been speaking here in the run-up to this visit. There are those who have applauded his environmental efforts. Others have criticised him for coming during an election year. And I think it's fair to say we haven't quite seen the same amount of enthusiasm that you would expect to see for the arrival of a French president in this part of the world compared with, for example, 20 or so years ago. So the other thing you have to bear in mind too is that this visit comes as France continues to lose influence in the face of competition from countries like Russia and China. So it will be interesting to see whether or not President Macron can do anything to reverse that tendency, not just here in Gabon, but also in Angola, in Congo, and in Democratic Republic of Congo over the next few days.
Adi Hillier there for us. Now, esport or competitive video gaming is booming across Africa. There are over 20,000 gamers in Senegal alone. Last weekend, hundreds battled it out on football game FIFA 23, hoping to qualify for an international tournament to be held here in Paris later this year. Our correspondents followed Dex Jr., one of Senegal's most exciting prospects.
For Dex Jr., consistency is key. He trains for hours every day on his favourite video game, FIFA.
No.
The 19-year-old has become a huge figure in Senegalese e-sport.
My passion comes from my brother. He's the one who taught me to play. My mother often didn't let me leave the house, so I stayed inside gaming. I realized over time that I was pretty good at it.
The teenager has already won 3 African championships on FIFA. Over the weekend, he took part in the preliminary stage of a national tournament where competition is fierce. Only 1 in 200 players make it past the first phase. This was no problem for Dex Jr. though, who beat the Senegalese champion to retake the title and qualify for a prestigious international tournament in Paris.
As promised, I've done it. I won the tournament. I'm truly delighted. I'm so happy to have won.
The weekend's tournament was organised by the Association of Senegalese Gamers, who say such events shine a light on local talent.
I honestly think that we're the best country on the continent when it comes to FIFA, because we have really good players. Internationally, we haven't had the chance to compete on the biggest stages to show what we have to offer. But I'm sure that will come. Senegal has some great talent.
In May, Dex Jr. will take part in the E-League Tour 1 tournament in Paris, where he stands to win up to €3,500.
That's it for Eye on Africa. Thanks very much for joining us. Do so again. Take care.